I mean, as I said earlier, he was very divisive and used to pose some very testing questions. He didn't sit back and nod and agree and just let us talk. He always tried to challenge us and the management team and the board on actually finding ways to improve the business and put structures in place that would then he put a lot of structures in place that would allow us to move the business forward. And if we ever did look at selling the business or valuing the business and things like that, the structure in place that would allow us to take it to that next level. So made us think and worked with us very closely on putting all the philosophy of the business together. So what we were really about, what we cared about, how we ran the business. So we never had a mission statement or visions or values written down and that we worked towards. We always believed we were working in the same direction, but he made us formalize that a bit more and made us think really how we did run the business, and making sure that the previous or the current owners, we were actually we thought the same way as the current owners. So at the moment we're going through a phase where James, who's my CTO, and myself are inheriting or taking over, buying the company from my mother and father. So there is a transitional period, a long transitional period. James and I have been running the business for the last 2-3 years since my mother retired as MD. So we've actually been physically running the business, but there's a longer term succession where we'll be taking over the business and buying the shares off them and things like that. So a kind of strange management buyout of it, of the company. And we'd always kind of assumed that, well, it was never really, nothing was ever formalized. It was just like, well, it's a family business, you'll take over, although James isn't in the family, and we think we ran the business the same, but there was actually quite a lot that we didn't agree with, and we have changed the structure of the business over the last few years, and that was kind of bought out and eked out by Daryl fairly efficiently of how we do that and how we actually make sure that we are all on the same page, and we aren't going to take the business over and then flog it the next day and upset my parents and things like that, but upset the kind of the previous owners, and we would continue the business how we all believed it should be run. So we did a lot of work with Daryl, as I say, in the formalities of that. We never had a vision, never had values, never had a formal business plan of such, and where we were going, 5-year plans, and that's all the work we did with Daryl over a number of years, actually. And so the company's 33 years old, and I've actually, it came in this morning from our solicitors. We're just signing the shareholders agreement as we speak. And where we worked really closely was the culture of the business, and kind of we are a family business, and not just my family. There's actually 5 families involved in the business. And we always, we threw it around. Oh, well, it's a family business. We've got family values. And he kind of, well, what do you believe in family values? Because my family is very different to yours, and most families are fairly dysfunctional and things like that somewhere along the line. So we really dug deep into what we believe and how we want to run the company, and things like we put down our values and one of them was this family value and what that meant to us. And they said, well, what do you mean? Why is that your value? And so, well, and now everything we do is we go back to our values. So when we recruit somebody new, we look to see if they will really fit into the culture of the company and it's a different company, so not everyone will fit in. The suppliers we bring on board when we choose suppliers, we try and go as local as possible as much as we can. The clients we bring on board, the first thing we do is, will they culturally fit? And that's often difficult if they turn up with a big check or a big contract. And we actually have turned away people that possibly previously we hadn't done, but we thought, well, actually there isn't a cultural fit here. We will just rub ourselves and ultimately that won't succeed if we're doing that. So and we know that's how we now run the business, and certainly we'd never consciously thought about that and formalized it before Daryl got involved and challenged us about that. Personally, I still, even though I'd run my own business, that's all I'd ever known. I'd worked for a couple of companies, but not really, because I was a sportsman and a coach, so I wasn't really business. I hadn't worked for big corporations or anything like that. And my mother had worked, run this company for 30 plus years. So she obviously had a wealth of business experience, but this business for 30 years. So he bought and James and I were even at that stage looking at taking over it and how we took over. And we thought, well, he's going to bring a different insight from completely outside of this business and this little kind of micro climate of this business. He's going to bring an outsider's view into it of what the business is like, how it will succeed, how we could grow, and that's where we thought he'd add value. He'd bring in a kind of an outsider's view of what our business could do and where it could go and things.